But I do want to have a discussion. And that is what, oh, did it disappear somehow? So let's get this. What's that? I've never seen that happen. Come up. So we've been talking about the elephant in the room, and we've been talking about it for a while, but now I'm seeing the elephant in the room examples. And some of these examples have been pretty loud. I don't know if I brought it up the other week, but I heard everybody was under contract and this buyer freaked out when the title company sent him the Alta, and the Alta had the buyer paying another 0.5%. And they said they were not aware of this, blah, blah, blah. Now, of course, the contract showed it. They had the buyer request in there, to pay that the listing agent and the seller were willing to pay only 2%. They had a buyer agency agreement for 2.5%. And lo and behold, he's saying nobody told him, or they are saying nobody told him. And of course, they worked it all out or whatever, but it was an ugly conversation to have, right?
From Matt Jones, Realtor, please. Hey, it's Matt Jones. How can I help you? Hey, Matt, Jason Fox here. We have a closing in a few days, and I got my final CD, and I was reviewing it, and I saw a few numbers that didn't add up from what you and I spoke about. Do you have a few minutes to talk to me? Oh, yes. Hi, I sure do. I'm just here at the office grinding it out. Okay, so I'm looking over my final CD, and it looks like I'm getting cleaned out here. There's almost $3,000 in additional fees that I had no idea about. Could you explain those to me? Oh yeah, sure, that's no problem. With the new rules in place, you agreed to pay me a set commission, a percentage, and the house that you bought, the seller was not paying that full commission. So what I had to do was, I got my commission from the seller, but then also I had to charge you an additional $2,400 plus our $695 admin fee. Yeah, I don't understand. Well, I mean, I agreed to pay you commission, but the seller always pays the commission. I don't have to pay you directly, and so it's additional $2,400 because the seller wasn't paying enough commission that I had to pay you more. It looks like your commission from the seller was $14,000. And then I'm paying you an additional $2,400 and then another $695 admin fee. What is an admin fee? Okay, yeah, I understand. I mean, if you look, you will see I gave you a $1,200 credit to help offset some of those fees. The admin fee is something that my office charges. And if you don't pay it, then I gotta pay it. And I don't want to pay it out of my commission that I worked for. So it kind of is what it is. It's the way of the new world. All right. I wish this was explained to me a little. Honey, I wish this was explained to us a little bit better because I wasn't planning on coming up with that much money. $114,000. We were only planning on coming up with $111. So this really puts us in a bind. So thanks for nothing. Oh yes, I was calling for Matt Jones.
Exactly how this is going down, and whether you are handling it that we're not going to want to get closer to the mic. Whether we're not, well, I'm sorry, you were all right. So whether you are doing it where you're waiting for the buyer request forms to come in from the buyer agent, or whether you're putting out your listing co-op, and we've had those discussions, which this is not the topic, because the important thing is you have to have the same conversations with your buyers. You have to articulate your value proposition. You can't tiptoe. And then when you come upon the property, that way you're handling the contract and whatever situation occurs so that you can put your commission in it. I heard an example that happened a couple weeks ago. The property was between 600,000 and 800,000. I'm not going to tell you the exact property because you could figure it out. But it's 700,000. They got multiple or 600,000 to 800,000 range. They got multiple offers, and out of the multiple offers, they had a couple with zero commissions on the buy side. But the reality was, when the Alta was done, on it was the buyer side commission. It was just paid by the buyer. So the buyer's agent was absolutely getting paid their full commission of 2.5%, but they were just not getting it paid by the seller, which I know some of you are completely shocked at that because you get scared about putting another 0.25% or another 0.5% for your buyers to pay. But it's happening out there. It's happening in our office where I've seen it, where we've had, pretty solid offers. And one of the competitive advantages the agents have done is say, you know what? We're going to give the seller's net. Now, the problem is you articulating it to the listing agent and making sure it goes over to the seller. There is zero commission being offered or requested by the buyer to the seller. So when the buyer request form comes in, they actually put in their zero request. So it's clear. And then in the cover sheet, they're saying, you're not going to owe a commission. My buyer is paying the commission. So now what happens is, if that's a 15,000, let's round it. If that's a $20,000 commission, now you don't have to worry about, say it's an $800,000 house. You don't have to worry if it appraises for 820 because you built in the commission, because that commission is being paid by the buyer. So, no, if you look at it, it's another plus. So, but if you don't articulate it and everybody's looking across saying 8888, it's not the same. So you have to make sure that that is articulated. No different than anything. If you say we're waiving the appraisal, we're doing the gap appraisal, we're doing whatever, you want to make sure it's clear, especially if it's an agent that either A, doesn't really go thoroughly through a contract, or B, they're newer, may not understand all the, intricacies of the contract. But you don't want to lose because you did something that was absolutely a win for the seller and they didn't realize it. But most importantly, back to the buyer agency, do not soft shoe this. The last thing you want to have after you finally land a property, after you finally get it negotiated, they get it accepted, they beat out 6 other people or 10 other people or whatever. And now 2 weeks later, they've got a bitter taste in their mouth because maybe you did discuss it, but you did it in such a soft shoe way that they didn't realize they were picking up that other 0.5% or whatever else. So make sure it's crystal clear. You have the discussion when you're going over agency, and you have the discussion when you're writing the offer, so that you're not having the discussion that could blow up the deal at the end. Or worst case scenario, you're going, all right, well, don't pay me the other 0.5%. I know I wasn't that clear with you or whatever, and now you feel like the bad guy. Is everyone clear on this? I mean, this is real, and again, we've been discussing it, but now I'm hearing real stories about it. So how's the market? Busy? What are you feeling? What's that? Depends. Well, what if I'm the buyer? Not great if I'm a buyer.
More listings to me, and properties are staying on the market a little longer. Prices are dropping a little.
Prices are dropping a little. Gloria said that more listings exist. Anything else that you're seeing? What's that?
Been on the market a few days longer.
Staying a few days on the market, more than they were if I was standing up here last year or the year before, right? And we're hearing that. One of the things I looked up is, remember I used to do the last 7 days, tell you what was happening. 624 coming soons. But we're not talking about the secret listings. Remember, I used to say there were coming soons and there were temporary off, because 21 days, and sometimes we would go beyond the 21 days and they would drop into temp off. Sometimes temp off meant that it went under contract, but if it never went under contract, it would go from coming soon. You looked in the list history and then temp off and then go to active. So now we have this unknown number that's happening right here. So to me, that's a lot more new coming soons than we were seeing last year. Just, in
the Baltimore metro area. So last week I thought it was interesting because we saw new purchases up over last year. Median days to contract, like Lori just said, seems to be a little bit or Amelia said a little bit longer. New listings were 925. Compared to last year, this time, new listings are up 30%. Now, that's not 30% from 2019 or 2021. It's 30% from last year, which was the all-time low, right? I mean, so just to put that in perspective, but still a sign that new listings are up. Median list price is still going up. It's at, for the Baltimore metro area, 3.9%. Now, if I extract Baltimore City, that may be different as well. We always say that. Active listings are up 30%. So that means they're not flying off the market like 2021 was. And then canceled listings up 64%, but that was not a high number to begin with. But just interesting, showings up 22%. Compared to a year ago. Are you feeling more applications out there, Dan? Yes. So just to give you an idea, and that was week ending March 30th. So I believe that's even more right now because of what I'm sensing and what I'm hearing from you guys. Oh, there's Bob. I just threw him in there. So for all of you that attended the Rev training, I mean, I thought Chris did a fabulous job with it. It was, wow. I don't know if I could have spoken for 6 hours like that, kept people engaged, it was a long time, wasn't it? But it was well worth it all the way to the end. I mean, I think he got through like 80% of the most important parts of Rev. So Rev is actually KV Core. So I'm going to pull the curtain back. That's what it is, but we call it Rev. There's lots of trainings out there. I'm still getting my head around some of the trainings because I want to be able to give it to you in small pieces as well. So no different than I've done with Moxie or whatever, just like Lori and I were having a conversation about looking up comparables or whatever, there's different ways to do things. So I want to make sure that I see it from all angles so that I can sit down with you guys one-on-one and in small groups and be able to do it. I had an agent come in asking me about the squeeze pages. So there's squeeze pages, there's landing pages. There's so many different topics that we're going to just have to put, in pieces versus that 6-hour training. Okay. Long and Foster is going to be doing a lot of it, but I am looking up some of the trainings from other places so I can get my head around it and hear it from all different angles. I actually stole this from another company, put Bob's head on it, and that profile, and then put Long and Foster up here. So, but just so you understand, there are so many pieces. Like this is right up here is the top that you would go into. And again, I'm going to get into the trainings, but I want you to understand if you do not understand all the things that Rev is going to give you as far as the ability to do lead gen and quick marketing pieces and put up landing pages and everything. It's coming. Stay tuned. Just like I've done the tricks and tips things, I'm going to do small bite pieces of training on each one of these topics. So I just wanted to make sure. Ounce of prevention. I always say the word ounce of prevention. I did a contract, constructing a contract. If some of you are still not using the different tools and the different county resources to do the ounce of prevention, it's well worth it to watch that training. I've recorded it. I've saved it on our group page. One thing is, Tom just brought up deferred water charges. We just had a fall through in a transaction because of deferred water charges. So it was not disclosed till the title company uncovered it. And what do you guys do to make sure that you know about whether or not there's any deferred water charges?
Yes,
What's that?
yes.
And if the seller is unsure, then what?
Check out the list.
What's that?
Check out the listing.
Yes, perfect. Shelley said it perfectly. When you're not sure, check other listings. I was sitting there at 10 o'clock at night while the deal was falling apart. And what was the first thing I did? 'Cause I checked the next door neighbor that settled. And the next door neighbor that settled said Tidewater showed the amount, $500 for the next 18 years or whatever it was. Done, right? And you, of course, you don't trust just the other listing, right? I always trust 2 out of 3 to be honest. So just, but I did go to the next one as well, right? And I said, yep, I think it, there was deferred water
Should be on the
charges.
deed.
What's that?
Should be on the deed.
So there's Robin. Robin is,
It's not always in the
it's
deed.
not always
You
in the
have to go
deed.
back sometimes way in the chain of title to see it. The question I
Stay
would
close to
say,
the door.
I'm sorry.
Please.
Oh, the question I would say to your seller when you're listing a property, how many tax bills do you get? Ask how many tax bills, because they're getting 2 separate bills. So that's the first thing. And yes, of course, we will help you find out if the seller doesn't know it's an estate or something, let us know and we'll certainly go back and do some checking on it. But it's not always there right up front. I mean, can be back there in the chain.
In Harper County, it's much, Harper County has Harper County has a website that, oh, what's that?
Also, May Chapel has it as well, so be careful.
Yeah, yes, again, if the property is newer than 40 years, 30 years, definitely start looking at it. If the house was from 1956, I'm pretty sure you're okay or whatever. But at the end of the day, Harper County does have a site that makes it easier to find it. Baltimore County does not. And all I want to say is be careful, because then we got into legal fights, right? The broker on the other side swore that the client now had to pay the whole amount, and there's an addendum that reads that if it's found out prior, the buyer has the right to get out. But if it's found out after and it settles, then the seller owes for the whole amount, right? So that would have been $9,000, I think, 18 years, $500, 9,000. Now, obviously, everybody could have negotiated, but then it all got emotional, or whatever. Again, ounce of prevention prevents this kind of fight that just blew up a transaction, okay? So especially, if you're on the buy side, don't think that if you didn't see a deferred water charge and you see the house is only 15 years old and it's townhouse development or whatever, and it's public water, public sewer, I would do some research. I would call up Robin, Andy, Tom, whatever, and say, hey, Doug, can you look this up for me or whatever? I can't seem to find it. Or I don't see any houses that have sold recently that have it attached. Okay? So just ounce of prevention. And there's other topics, but I'm bringing up one example of a deal that blew up this week. And had the buyer's agent done some research and had the seller, the listing agent was obviously the one that should have done the homework ahead of time. And again, it happens. Once it happens to you, you're not going to forget to do it. Trust me. What's that? I did. So if you watch this video, I do a whole thing on ground rent showing, unfortunately, you might have to pay later if this all goes through with Maryland Land Recs, but I do a whole thing on the ground rents and to look at having the whole paragraph, etc. Okay.